Imagine scrolling past a headline and feeling your chest tighten because it promises a simple, heroic solution to a messy problem. The claim is dramatic, easy to share, and impossible to ignore, that Islamic groups in Burkina Faso signed on to build schools instead of 200 mosques. It reads like a moral victory, and it plays into hopes we have about religion, development, and leadership. But good journalism does not stop at what we want to be true. It asks two simple questions: is this claim accurate, and does the truth make a difference for the people who matter most, the children who need schools, the teachers who risk everything to teach, and the communities whose futures hang on education? This video is a careful, scene-by-scene look at that story. We will separate what is verified from what is viral, explain the real problems facing education in Burkina Faso, and outline what practical, accountable action looks like on the ground. First, let us describe the viral story itself in plain terms. The claim circulated widely across social platforms and video channels. It said that an offer either from an overseas donor or from Islamic organizations would fund the construction of 200 mosques in Burkina Faso, and that either national leaders or the religious groups themselves rejected that project and redirected the money toward building schools. Many posts called the decision historic and framed it as proof that faith leaders or the state had chosen education over places of worship. That is the version people have been sharing. It is short, emotionally satisfying, and easy to believe. When we test that headline against public records and official statements, the story does not hold up in its dramatic form. The Foreign Ministry in Ouagadougou officially disowned the claim when it reappeared online. Government sources made clear that there was no documented offer to construct 200 mosques, and that the recycled posts reviving this narrative were false. Independent fact-checkers who examined the viral claims reached the same conclusion: the sweeping version of the story, of a formal swap, a publicized signed agreement, or a government-level rejection that redirected construction funds towards schools, lacks verifiable evidence. That does not make the discussion worthless. It simply means we must replace a catchy slogan with sober facts before we build our narratives. I will list the reports and official notices I used to verify this in the sources section at the end of this video. If the headline is not accurate in its strongest form, why did it spread so fast and so far? The answer lies in three things. First, the claim aligns with a deep wish to see tangible, moral leadership. Second, it is easy to tell in one sentence. And third, it taps into real debates over how development money should be spent. None of those facts mean the story is true, but they do explain why it felt plausible. People want education prioritized. That desire makes people quick to amplify stories that appear to show exactly that. Now let us look at the context that gives the viral claim its urgency. Burkina Faso today is a country suffering a severe humanitarian and education crisis. Years of violent conflict and renewed insurgent activity have forced millions from their homes. Thousands of schools have been closed, destroyed, or occupied. Teachers have been abducted or killed. Families flee villages where classrooms once stood, and entire school years are lost for children who simply cannot reach a safe school. Governments and humanitarian agencies report tens of thousands of classrooms out of service and hundreds of thousands of children missing from formal schooling. That reality is not a rumor. It is the day-to-day context that makes any promise of new schools resonate, because schools are not only buildings, they are safety, routine, and the single best hedge against a lost generation. Understanding the scale of that crisis matters because it changes how we judge responses. Building a single new building in a secure district is different from restoring education across conflict zones. Donors and communities must ask what is required to make learning sustainable, not only walls and chalkboards, but trained teachers, safe access routes for children, reliable salary payments, teaching materials, and community trust. Too often, announcements and viral headlines reward spectacle and miss the slow, expensive work of keeping classrooms open. To be precise, faith-based organizations, including Islamic groups, already play a substantive role in education across West Africa and in Burkina Faso. There is a long history of Franco-Arabic schools, Quranic education, and faith-affiliated institutions that operate alongside the public system. Many Franco-Arabic schools combine religious instruction with formal literacy and numeracy, and some are officially recognized and subsidized to varying degrees. At the same time, some non-formal Islamic education providers serve communities left out by the state. The presence of these institutions is neither uniformly positive nor uniformly negative. It depends on curriculum, oversight, teacher training, inclusion of girls, and whether the education connects students to broader certification systems. This complexity matters because it means Islamic groups is an umbrella term that covers a wide array of actors, from local mosque-based teachers to transnational charities working with formal donors. So what would it actually take if major faith networks wanted to deliver high-quality, sustainable schooling rather than a sequence of isolated construction projects? The first requirement is teacher protection and payroll. Without adequately trained and regularly paid teachers, the walls remain empty. The second is a curriculum that balances religious education with national standards and pathways for students to move into higher education or vocational opportunities. Third is community governance and accountability. Schools work best when parents, local leaders, and education authorities jointly oversee them. Fourth is security planning. In conflict-affected regions, how children and teachers get to school safely is as important as the building itself. Finally, sustainability matters. Feeding programs, school maintenance plans, and long-term budgets are what prevent new classrooms from becoming derelict after the ribbon cutting. This is not abstract. There are programs that adapt to these conditions. Radio and remote teaching have been used where classrooms are unsafe or unreachable. Catch-up classes and accelerated learning programs have helped displaced children bridge gaps. School feeding programs paired with safe transport plans and teacher incentives have delivered measurable increases in attendance even under very challenging circumstances. These interventions show that when donors and community actors focus on continuity and protection, education recovers in meaningful ways. But none of these wins come from a single, viral headline. They come from years of planning, sustained budgets, and local leadership. Now, let us return to how such a story is used in media and politics. In an environment of conflict and state fragility, simple stories do more than inform. They shape identity and political support. A narrative in which religious donors are persuaded to prioritize schools over more places of worship flatters national pride and signals sensible governance. That is an attractive story for political leaders, for social media creators, and for audiences who want a sign that progress is possible. But social media rewards speed and emotion more than nuance. That same dynamic elevates half-true narratives and AI-amplified tributes, and it is a channel through which disinformation can seed real political effects. There is a second layer here that is crucial for American viewers to understand. Geopolitical maneuvers and information campaigns can make local events look like broad strategic victories. A highly amplified local anecdote can be repackaged as a sweeping national reform. In some cases, artificially generated or coordinated content elevates praise for a leader or flattens complexities that deserve deeper scrutiny. For people watching from the United States, the right instinct is sympathy for children and teachers, not the impulse to convert a catchy headline into a political catechism. Let us be concrete about what is verifiable and what remains uncertain. The strongest verified facts are these. The exact viral claim of a formal signed agreement to build hundreds of mosques that was then redirected into school construction is not supported by public evidentiary documents. The Foreign Ministry in Ouagadougou publicly denied that such an offer existed when the rumor resurfaced in the spring. Credible fact-checkers who followed the thread found it could not be substantiated. What remains true and urgent is that education in Burkina Faso is in crisis. Many schools have been closed and teachers and children are at real risk. And what also remains true is that faith institutions already play a varied and active role in education across the country, sometimes as partners, sometimes as parallel systems. For a journalist or content creator, the ethical route is clear. Report the denial of the viral claim and then pivot to the deeper, more consequential story. how children are being educated despite danger, what practical forms of donor support have shown results, how faith groups can be constructive partners, and what verification steps viewers can use to judge similar headlines in the future. That approach respects the truth while offering hope and concrete direction. If you want your viewers to feel the human stakes, do not lead with slogans. Lead with a single child's morning to school, the classroom that never opened, the teacher who keeps radio lessons going, the parent balancing survival and education. Use those personal narratives to show why an accurate, grounded account matters more than a quick feel-good share. Then add the verification, show the official denial, explain how the rumors spread, and move to the practical agenda of protecting learning, paying teachers, and monitoring results. That arc human story, verification, practical solutions keeps audiences engaged without sacrificing rigor. Toward the end of this video, I want to leave you with precise, audience-facing questions that make commenting natural and meaningful. Ask, if a major donor in your community announced a choice between funding a place of worship and funding a school, which would you prefer and why? Ask, when is it ethically acceptable to prioritize one kind of public infrastructure over another? Ask, if schools in conflict zones can be kept open with better security and teacher support, what trade-offs would you accept to make that happen? And finally, ask your viewers what evidence would convince them that a program was working: attendance records, independent audits, or community-led oversight, so that comments generate substance rather than slogans. The way we end this story matters, because it is not just about headlines. It is about children, teachers, and the future of a nation. If you believe truth should be louder than rumors, subscribe to AfriPol Lens. Do it because this channel will keep uncovering the deeper realities behind the stories others only skim. Like this video if you stand for facts over fiction, and share it with someone who needs to hear the truth, not just the clickbait. Leave a comment with your perspective, because your voice is part of this conversation. And remember, real change comes from action. Support organizations that defend education in conflict zones, amplify the voices of those on the ground, and hold leaders and donors accountable. Together, we can turn awareness into impact.